Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing a recipe from YouTube. It's going to be from the channel The Art of Cooking, and we're going to make some sweet and sour chicken. So let's look at our ingredients. Okay, so let me warn you ahead of time. This recipe is a little bit difficult, so may the odds be ever in your favor. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut up our chicken breasts in bite-sized pieces. Now, I get my chicken breasts from Sam's, and I don't know about you guys, but those babies are thick. So they need to be cut down so that they're a little bit thinner so that they cook a little even. So make sure if they're too thick, cut them down. Now we're going to work on our marinade. So this is where I go ahead and I started doubling everything. So you'll see me go in with the first initial amount that the recipe calls for, but then I'll go back and I'll double it. Looking back, I would probably not double this recipe. Even if I'm doing 2 chicken breasts, there was still quite a bit of that marinade left. So even the marinade, the batter, if you're gonna do 2 chicken breasts, just prepare it like it says for 1, because you'll have plenty left over. Okay, here we go. Now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put that marinade on our chicken, and we're gonna put the water in it. So he says that the water inside of the chicken breast will allow the marinade to really soak into the chicken, but the water itself will keep the chicken nice and moist. So the idea behind it is that we're supposed to seal it, put it in the fridge, and it should soak in that water. However, I don't feel like that's what happened with my recipe. So once it's nice and tightly sealed, go ahead and throw it in your fridge, and you're going to put it in there for about 30 minutes. So next we're going to start on the sauce. This was my favorite part because the colors were just beautiful. I love oranges, I love lemons, I love citrus, and this was really my first time working with fresh ginger like this, but man, it made my house smell so delicious. Okay, so we're going to take those beautiful ingredients and stick them into our pot so that they can start to boil. Now this is going to be, like I said, the base to the sauce, but oh, I loved it. It was delicious. Okay, so while that's boiling, we're going to work on the breading for the chicken. So again, I doubled it. I put 2 eggs instead of the 1 that was called for. And I went ahead and just started mixing it all together. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of intimidated by the amount of salt that this recipe called for, and even when I went back and I started like going through and editing the video and matching it up to the actual recipe, I was like, well, that's what it called for. So if you're a person that doesn't want a salty meal or can't have that much salt, beware of this recipe. And let me just tell you that this recipe was way out of my arena. Like using cornstarch to thicken up things, yeah, I use it, but not as much as this recipe called for. There's a lot of different moving parts in this recipe. So a KitchenAid mixer has been on my Christmas wish list for quite some time, but they're really big and super expensive, so we haven't invested in one yet. So I was like, that's okay. I won't get out my little hand mixer. I'll just whisk it myself. Yeah, my arm was hurting. I don't know if you remember like Mr. Potato Head in Toy Story, how his like arms just pop off, but that's how my arm felt afterwards. It was just gonna like pop out of its socket. So I'm used to, when I'm frying or coating something, using like a wet element like eggs and then dipping it into a drier crumbly element like breadcrumbs or cornflakes. So this was the first time I made actual like batter for chicken. So I was a little bit nervous, just a little bit. So here you'll see me again finally bringing out the big guns because my arm was hurting. So I also was kind of getting worried because at this point my batter wasn't thickening up the way his looked on the video. So I was like, okay, well maybe it's because my whisking skills were the worst in the world. So I brought out my little hand mixer, but it still didn't come out to the consistency that was on the video. However, I decided to just go ahead and trust the process, so I put my chicken in and I just started to fry them. So his directions for frying this chicken is pretty legit. So you put them in there for 3 to 5 minutes and let them get cooked initially. So after that 3 to 5 minutes, you take them out and you let them rest for 20 seconds. While you're letting them rest, you're supposed to clean all the rest of that batter that may be just floating around there, because it's just gonna get brown and crispy and start to burn. So you take them out, let them rest for 20 minutes, clean your pan, and then put them right back in so that they can fry again, constantly moving them so that they're nice and golden. And mine came out more golden than the Golden Girls. I mean, if that's possible. Heads up, this was only one batch out of 5 batches that I did to fry this chicken. Okay, now it's time to finish up the sauce. So he says when your citrus starts ripping up and see-through like it is here, then it's ready to go. So you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna strain that. Just a warning, it is super heavy. And perhaps if you were like me and you whisked, your arm is gonna hurt. So be careful. Important point number 100 million, squish the citrus, he says. Get the juice out, he says. So make sure you do that. Now it's time to add the azúcar. You know, Celia Cruz says it, azúcar. Yeah, I know I'm not Celia, but I did it when it's nice and hot so that it melts into the juice and it gets evenly distributed. So after you've added the vinegar, go ahead and just mix it up. Now, one thing that I'm going to tell you, I'm going to let you in on my life a little bit. I'm an individual. I'm one individual in this world that is not a fan of ketchup. Yeah. The only ketchup I will eat is Whataburger's spicy ketchup. I do not like ketchup. So I was already really like about putting ketchup in here. He adds an additional little bit of red food coloring and says that that's usually what restaurants do to maintain that red color. And I saw what he said afterwards when I included the thickening agent in, but you'll see later. So I set aside a cup of that liquid so that I could thicken it up. But as you can see, I have a ton of that base for the sauce. So do not double it. Even if you're making 4 chicken breasts, don't double it. It's a lot of sauce. So we just finished making that thickening agent for the sauce, so you'll see how we use it. All right, now it's time to make the sauce nice and thick. So, little warning here, you have to really keep your eye on this sauce while it's on the stove. You really have to babysit it like it's a spoiled child. Do not leave it. It will get yucky, it'll get clumpy, and it might burn. So keep your eye on it. So I would say that it took a good 5 to 7 minutes for my sauce to really thicken up. But as you can see, it's not that bright red that you usually see in Chinese restaurant recipes. So that's why he called for putting that extra food dye in there if you wanted it red. I probably could have kept it on there a little longer, but I was a little scared, so I took it off a little earlier. I forgot to do a video clip of the actual end product. But here it is, our sweet and sour chicken. Okay, another one down, more to go. What do I think of this one? It was meh. A nice hard meh. Ratings, I would definitely give it out of 5, 5 being the best, 1 being the worst meal to make. I'd give it a 3. It was pretty difficult. If you're looking for an easy recipe, this ain't a 1. You need to find a different one. This one takes quite a while, and you also have to do a lot of steps in between. So I don't know if I would recommend this as a weeknight meal. This was probably like a weekend meal. So be aware of that. If you're going to make this, have some time. Family friendliness. I would rate this 5 being the best meal on earth that I can make, 1 being the most, not the worst. Okay, the worst meal I could ever make. I would definitely give it a 3. I don't know if I did something wrong. I can't see if I did anything wrong with my recipe as of yet, but I just wasn't a fan. The sauce was interesting. It's not exactly like you find at a Chinese restaurant. So I was kind of bummed by that. You can really taste the ketchup quite a bit in there. And to me, the breading on the chicken was a little salty. Would I make it again? More than likely, yes. So I doubled this recipe because I thought 1 chicken breast is not going to feed my family. There's 4 of us. We eat 2 pretty large chicken breasts between the 4 of us. And there's always usually some leftovers. But I was like, this isn't going to last. I wish I would not have doubled it. I wish I would have just stuck with the first initial recipe because I think I may have gotten a little bit confused on some of the ingredients, possibly. The sauce does not need to be doubled. I was left over with a ton of sauce. So your first serving, that if you're making a family serving, that's all you should need. Don't double that. It's a lot of sauce. But all in all, it was all right. It wasn't like knock my socks off. It's going to be delicious, and I'm going to use it as a recipe in my books for years to come. Definitely not that recipe for me. I may take that back once I make it again with some time. I don't know. And I kind of feel like I left out the love a little. I was doing it right the first little bit, but then I got distracted, and so I feel like that may have contributed to the non-love portion of the food. So my kids were not really enthused about it either. So I'm just gonna have to redo it, I think, because I feel like this recipe was given to me by my mom. She said she really liked it, and my nieces and my nephews really liked it, but my kids just didn't get with it. So I don't know, maybe I did something wrong. Maybe I'll try it again and see how it goes. On top of that, my batter, I felt like even though I beat it for forever, it never thickened up the way it was supposed to, and so my chicken wasn't as coated very nicely. So I'm not sure what went wrong there. That's what I'm saying. I think I'm gonna have to try it again. But I don't know. You try it. Send me your pictures. Let me know how yours comes out, because I don't know. All I can think of is I did it wrong. Something Maybe one of my ingredients was off. Maybe I used a different kind of flour that I shouldn't have. I don't know. But anyways, send me a recipe if you want me to try something. If you're dying to see how something tastes, but you're kind of afraid to try it, I'll try it for you. So send me the recipe. Send me pictures. Let me see what yours comes out as. If you make this meal, take a picture, post it on my page, or tag me in it. The Fearless Chef Texas. You can tag me in Pinterest, or you can tag me on Instagram or Facebook. So I would love to see what you're working on. I would love to see a recipe that you created, or if you want me to try a new one. So anyways, try it out. Let me know what you think. I'm a little pooped, but hey, I mean, not everything comes out perfect, right? Sometimes we mess up. I don't think I messed up, but whatever. So even though it was difficult and it didn't come out perfect, hey, life's not perfect, right, guys? Anyway, we'll see you soon, and I hope that you have a good time cooking too. Bye.